Go ahead and get started this morning. Welcome, everyone. I hope it wasn't too difficult for everyone to get on to the system. A couple housekeeping things before we start. By the way, this is Kim Olson. I get used to doing webinars with our staff, and we don't need to know each other anymore because we all recognize each other online. But a couple of housekeeping things. First off is the South Dakota All website. As I'm showing you on the screen, if you go to the South Dakota All website and then you go to professional development, and from there you can go to the STAR page. So let's see, I got a lag time there and I apologize. But if you scroll down, you can see this the STAR information. You click on that to go to the newest STAR information. When you get into there, you could be able to find all the newest stuff posted in there as related to the logistical information. Becky will talk more about the STAR training information and where that'll be shared. So that was the first thing I wanted to make sure we shared. A couple other things. Make sure you're familiar with your mute. Use it unless you're speaking. It makes it a lot easier for everyone and a lot less painful on those that are wearing headsets. Next thing we have is the STAR face-to-face. And you will there'll be information, there is information posted on the syllabus within stuff information that Becky's going to show you, but it's also on the South Dakota All website within that STAR, and the face-to-faces are set up, and you've got an email on that. The one for April 11th is in Mitchell, and April 26th is in Rapid City. If we expect that people will go to their closest one. If there's a reason you can't, you need to let me know as soon as possible so that we can make adjustments where possible to get you where you need to be, and so you get the information. Okay, and then the last thing I have a couple more things, I guess. First of all, we are going to try and track our STAR students in LACIS. You should be receiving further directives from that, I would guess, from John Anderson in the near future on where he wants you to track that information. We just need to figure out exactly where we're going to have that going. And then the last thing I have is that we partnered with a new statewide initiative called the South Dakota Statewide Family Engagement Center project, and it's a family engagement project related to education, and STAR is going to be a component of that, and as such we will be announcing some grants coming out in the near future. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you don't get sick when I move around. Those things are going to include some help with programs for participant stipends to maybe cover some additional expenses, maybe some travel if you're going to want some technical assistance. Other options could be more classroom materials, or even family literacy engagement nights or days or weekends or whatever you want to call it, but activities. So pretty excited about that, and we'll be announcing that about the time of the face-to-face meetings, just so we can clarify any additional information we want. A few people are bobbing in and out because they're having a little bit of trouble. So I think we've covered everything that I want to cover right now, and I'll be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions there as we're going, we'll either hold them till the end, or Becky will make pauses, I'm sure, during the presentation to ask for feedback or questions and answers. So now I'm going to give it back to Becky.
All right. Thanks, Kim. I did just want to mention, in the spirit of transparency, that we are recording this webinar, just so everybody's aware. We're going to do that. We're going to make it available online for anybody who wants to go back and review any pieces of it, or for those people, we've got a few people who couldn't join us today for various reasons. They'll be able to go in and view this webinar in its recorded form as well. I'm not thinking that you all will want to review that much of the front end of it, but at the end of the webinar, we are going to do a pretty thorough review of the training site and the technology involved, and I know sometimes that goes kind of fast, so you may want to go back and review that part of this webinar. So the recording will be made available to all of you. When we're done with the webinar. All right. The purpose of today's webinar is really for you to see the big picture of where we're headed with this project. You're going to begin to see what your classrooms and programs will look like when you're implementing evidence-based reading instruction with your intermediate level learners. And then we're going to talk about the activities that we're going to do to get there. We're going to take a more in-depth look at the course syllabus and what it means. And we're going to talk about the course content and timelines. Hopefully you have all had time to look at the website at least a little bit. You've gotten into at least one module. And at the end of the webinar, we're going to show you around the website, like I said, and hopefully answer any navigation questions that you have about the electronic resources. It's a big site and there's a lot of moving parts, so it can be a little bit confusing at times, but we'll try and power through it. So the first thing we want to do today is take a look at this newly redesigned shopping cart. I know that some of you have seen this activity before, but please play with me this morning. Take a look at this newly designed shopping cart, and then I want you to either use the chat feature or you can unmute yourselves. Tell me what you observe about this cart. Oh, Jill Baker says no basket.
Gloria Plummer says one handle.
One handle. The color red. Telly and a couple other people said red handles with color red. It looks like the wheels won't touch the floor in the front.
Has some safety features, the red bumpers.
Okay, the red bumpers, right? Like it'll leave a red streak on your car if somebody dings it into your car in the parking lot. Small front wheel, uneven. The holes are really large. Things would fall out. All right. You guys are noticing a lot of things about this cart. And we've got a lot of them documented because we've done this activity before and we've had a lot of people mention things about this cart. So as a lot of you saw, the front wheel is smaller and higher up, and that'll probably lead to the cart tipping over when you try and push it. And nobody likes a tippy shopping cart, right? Oh, Jeremy just said not enough space to put boxes underneath. That's exactly right. There's no bottom shelf for those large items. So where am I supposed to put my 20-pound bag of dog food and my case of water, right? There's no seat for your child, so you're dragging the baby and your purse through the store as you go. And that's never good. We had a few people mention the openings in the sides are too big. So things could fall out. And that's also never a good thing. So you all are very typical of people who complete this activity. When we see something new, we tend to think about how that new thing will fit in our current environment or circumstances. So right away when we saw this newly designed cart, the first thing we thought was, how is this going to work in the store where I shop? How is this going to fit in my experience in the grocery store? And that's normal. That's a perfectly normal response. But what if this newly designed shopping cart was used in a newly redesigned store? Maybe that smaller front wheel docks into a device kind of like those Roomba vacuums that drive all over the floor by themselves, and it would automatically propel itself. So you no longer have to push as hard as you can once you get the 20-pound bag of dog food and the case of water on the bottom shelf of the cart to try and propel it down the aisle and steer it. Maybe there's not a child seat because the store has a certified child care center right inside the store. So you no longer have to take your kids through the store when they're crabby and you're crabby. You can just drop them off at the child care center and pick them up on your way out. Or maybe this cart was just the icon on the kiosk where you enter in your shopping list and they go and fill your cart for you and deliver it to your car or directly to your home. And you never actually have to set foot in the grocery store, which on some days is my absolute dream. So the point is, we're going to be redesigning your shopping cart during this training, which is the way that you currently teach reading. You're going to be learning new techniques for diagnostic assessments and for instruction. And you're probably going to find, as you change the way you teach reading, as you grasp a hold of that new cart, that the evidence-based techniques that you're learning for reading instruction might not necessarily work in your current store, your classroom, or your program structure. The STAR project is going to help you to remodel your store as you build that new cart. It's really, really tempting to just take the cart and think it's great and forget about the store. But remember, we thought of all kinds of reasons that that new cart won't work in our stores. So if we don't do some work on our program and classroom structures, the cart's not going to be as effective. It's not going to work the way it's supposed to work, the way it was designed to work. So as we're learning those new techniques for teaching reading and building your new shopping cart, we're also going to be thinking about the changes that you're going to have to make to your store, your classroom and program, to make that cart work the best it can for you. This two-pronged approach of working on mastering new techniques while making needed structural and functional changes is also supported by research. It's research on successful implementation that was gathered by the National Implementation Research Network, or NIRN. If this sounds like a lot of work, you're right. It's a lot of work. But remember, we're going to be doing it over a period of months. This training is going to run through September. And I'm here to support you. So we're going to be working on this together. And one of the things I really want everybody to remember is your stores aren't all going to look alike. There's no cookie cutter model for this. Just as all of our programs are slightly different, even though we all have the same goal and objectives, all of our programs are going to address the changes that need to be made to implement evidence-based reading instruction in different ways. So it's tempting sometimes to say, my program's so different that you don't really understand what I'm facing and why I can't make this work. I've done this in 15 states now, and I've heard that literally in every single state I've ever worked in. But I've done a lot of this over the years, and I've helped programs to rethink how their program structure can work to incorporate evidence-based reading instructions in a lot of different programs in a lot of different states. I've worked in large urban programs that literally serve twice as many people as the state of South Dakota in a year. I've worked in small rural programs. I was in a small rural program one time where their entire site was a double wide trailer. That was their whole program site. And I've even been to prison many, many times, and I've seen evidence-based reading instruction work there too. So I'm hoping that you're understanding that I feel like I've got some experiences that can help you to address the challenges that you might face as we get started implementing evidence-based reading instruction. So one of the things that people often ask is, what's this going to look like when I actually implement? This is Lori's classroom in Chicago. She's working with 20 intermediate level readers. Sometimes they work together as a whole class, but mostly Lori has them working in small groups. Lori did a diagnostic reading assessment for each of her students, so she knows what each student needs to work on as far as accurate decoding, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. Her diagnostic assessment also identified what level of text would be challenging, but not too difficult for each student. Throughout the class period, the students group and regroup according to their needs and the levels of text that are most appropriate for them to be working with. Lori moves from group to group, providing direct instruction. Sometimes while she's working with one group, the other students work on assignments on their own. And sometimes Lori has more than one group working at a time and she moves in between the groups. Some days she has a volunteer who can work with some of the groups, but some days it's just her. To keep all this organized and help the students know what to do next, Lori's organized a classroom routine. You can see it up there on her board. Lori built a new shopping cart with the instructional techniques that she learned through STAR. And she had to make some changes in the way she taught reading. She also had to remodel her store, her classroom, and do some remodeling at the program level in order to be able to do diagnostic assessments and to organize her classroom routine to fit in instruction for all her groups. So over the next several months, we're going to be helping you learn how to do diagnostic assessment and how to teach reading using those evidence-based techniques. You'll be building your carts, and like Lori, you'll need to do some remodeling of your stores. So we'll be helping you redesign those stores as well. I want to talk a little bit about just a general overview of the training. There's 3 sections in the training. If you've been into the training website, you've probably already seen that it's split up into those 3 sections. In section 1, which we're starting today, you're going to learn about the components of reading and how to conduct diagnostic assessment. And as Kim said, we've got face-to-face meetings scheduled, one East River and one West River, April 11th in Mitchell, April 26th in Rapid City. Section 2 focuses on delivering evidence-based instruction in each of the 4 components of reading. We're going to have a second face-to-face at the end of Section 2. That face-to-face training will be held as part of Summer Summit in July. And then Section 3 focuses on putting everything together into that instructional routine like you saw Lori using in her class and starting to fully implement. Sorry, had to cough. Each section contains modules. Most modules are completed online on your own, so you can do them when it's convenient for you. That means you can stop and reflect or go back and review parts if you want to. You can review whole modules if you want to. There are a few modules that are program team meetings, and you'll see those designated on your syllabus as well. That means we want you to get together with your team either in person or virtually to do these short meetings and those assignments. The first time you work through the training, you'll want to go through the modules pretty much in order. But after you've completed a module, it's always open to you. You can go back to it anytime, even after our training cycle has ended. The online modules use explicit instruction where you're going to have new techniques explained and modeled, and then you're guided through some online practice, followed by assignments where you try out those new techniques in the classroom with students, and then share reflections in your program portfolio. Other participants from your program are going to be able to support you by reading your reflections and discussing your ideas and questions. And I'm going to show you how that works in the site in a minute. And I'm also going to be participating in discussions in your program portfolio, and I'll be giving you feedback on your assignments. You'll want to plan time to post your own reflections, and then also plan time to support your coworkers in your program. Take some time, look at what they're posting, and interact with them. You can also share and receive support from people outside of your program by making comments to our full discussion forum, which covers everybody in the whole state who's involved in the training. So you have 2 places where you can participate in discussion, one specifically with just your program members and one with everybody throughout the state. And I really want to emphasize the importance of participating actively in those discussion forums. One of the things that implementation research shows is that when you're doing an online training like this, having that ability to join discussions and work with one another and network is really important to the success of the training. From our syllabus, you can see that your next steps are going to be to complete a few distance modules on your own before March 9th. That's modules 3 and 4. They're short modules with no assignments. Then during the week of March 9th, we want you to meet with your program group for a meeting. We don't think it'll take you more than an hour. You can meet face-to-face or virtually through a webinar, FaceTime, conference call. Then you've got 4 distance modules to complete on your own, and each of those modules explains how to do diagnostic assessment in one of the 4 reading components: alphabetics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. At the end of each of those 4 modules, you'll be practicing giving those diagnostic assessments in the reading components and reflecting on your experiences in your program portfolio. You'll be able to see the results of the diagnostic and assessment and reflections that others in your program did and be able to comment on them. Just note that after the modules where you have an assignment to post something in your program portfolio, I'm going to be looking at your assignments and providing feedback. And again, I'm going to show you how that looks in the training site. And also remember to watch for comments on your assignments as well as in the discussion forum. The state has purchased diagnostic assessment materials for you, and I'm going to talk more about that in a minute as well. And then we will take a look at how you're going to use some of the things that I emailed you earlier in the week. Does anybody have any questions about what we talked about so far? That was only 20 minutes. Are you still awake?
A few of them are having some technical difficulties.
Okay.
With multiple, I think it's because they've logged in multiple times.
Oh, okay. I'm getting lots of yeses that people are awake in my chat now, so good. Okay. That's good. Yeah. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is actually take you into the training website. So I'm going to click on the training site, and I'm probably going to have a little bit of a lag. There we go. Hopefully, oh, Gloria says the Rapid City team is awake and alert. That's good because it's early for you guys this morning. Hopefully, you all have had a chance to log into the training site. I know we had a couple of people who were having some difficulty, and hopefully we got that ironed out this morning, and now you all have access. If not, I'm going to show you what to do if you still don't have access. I'm going to give you an email address. So I want to show you how to get in and navigate the training. When you go to the website, star.links.ed.gov, and use your login, you're going to come to this page. You're going to log in. I'm actually going to log in as South Dakota Test User 2, because if I showed you my dashboard, you'd faint. It looks a lot different from the training side than it does from the user side. So I'm going to log in as South Dakota Test User. And here's what you'll see when you are actually logged in. You'll see the name of your team. I'm in the South Dakota practice team. And up here in the right-hand corner, you'll see your name. Right now, as I said, I'm logged in as South Dakota Test User 2, but that should be your name up there. You see you've got a link to log out if you want to. And you've got some important navigation tools up here across the top of the page. The first one is Dashboard. Dashboard takes you exactly where I am right now. It's to your landing page, your dashboard, your list of modules on your team page, okay? You can see South Dakota Test User 2 over here is bolded. That's how I know that I'm me and I'm logged in as me. But I can also see my other team members. Here's South Dakota Test User 1. They're not bolded because they are not logged in. That's just my other team member. So Dashboard will always bring you back to this point. And I want to emphasize, sometimes I know how it is. You're in the middle of things. You get like 3 layers down into something that you're working on a website, and all of a sudden you think, I have no idea where I'm at and how to get back to what I was working on. Dashboard is the key. If ever you're lost, come back to dashboard and you'll be able to find your way back, okay? We have all of the modules listed here on your dashboard in sections. So section 1, evidence-based reading instruction. You can see you've got the introduction, which you've already gone through, looked at, hopefully completed all the things in the introduction. There's those couple of short videos and the pre-training survey. Module 2, we're doing right now. That's our webinar that we're in right now. There is a pre-recorded webinar in Module 2 that you can refer to, but it's not going to have the South Dakota specific information in there. So I would suggest if you want to review anything that we've talked about in this webinar to come back to the specific recording of this one that we're going to send out after the meeting. Module 3 is what is EBRI. Module 4 is why assess. You can see there's nothing underneath the participant names over here on the right-hand side for any of those first 4 modules. That's because there are no assignments that need to be turned in from those 4 modules. But when we get to Module 5, which is challenges, you can see there you've got in gray underneath the participant names, incomplete. That tells you, if you're South Dakota Test User 2, that you haven't done Module 5 yet. You'll remember I said Module 5 was a program team meeting. The lovely thing about Module 5, I'm going to click on it right now, is that because it's a program team meeting, you're going to do this one together. You can see it's about challenges. And it tells you, and this is how every module works. You've got the name of the module, and then you've got a little bit of information at the front end. In this module, you'll learn about the challenges to implementing evidence-based reading instruction in your program and hear from some STAR teachers and administrators about their experiences. When you finish the e-learning module, meet with your team to work through the portfolio exercise below. So you can tell you've got an assignment on this one. So you can either watch the module all together as a program, or you can watch that individually on your own and then come together for your meeting. Here we know we've got an assignment because there's a box that says portfolio. That's your cue that there's something for you to complete and turn in on Module 5. And this one says, with your program team, discuss the challenges of implementation given the setup of your current store. What might need to be remodeled? Identify 2 biggest challenges that might make it difficult to change from your current setup to a new cart. And then this is very important. You don't have to resolve these issues now. You're just identifying them. So identify the challenges and begin the discussion. And you can see here at the bottom, no one from my team has submitted this document yet. So again, when I log in, I can see that and I know that. If I click here on record your challenges, it opens up, and this is a very simple one. It opens up the area where I can type my answers. So I can go in and record challenges for my team and say, you know, one challenge I know is going to be time for diagnostic assessment. Another challenge might be space for grouped instruction. Excuse me. I would actually prefer that you say more than this about your challenges. I'd like you to be a little more detailed and specific about what challenges you're facing. For those of you whose programs operate in multiple sites or multiple classes that might be different and have a different approach to how you're going to implement evidence-based reading instruction, you can definitely spell out per program site how those challenges might be different. For example, I know at Cornerstone's site, space is a much different challenge in our Yankton office than it is in our Huron office. So I might have to say something different if I were working in that program about Yankton than I did about Huron. You can see down at the bottom, I have an option here. If I start working on something and I get interrupted, as we all do every single time we try and do anything, I can actually save this assignment as a draft and come back to it later. I can also, if I finished working on this assignment, hit submit for feedback. Save as a draft means that you're not done with that yet, and I'm not going to look at it and score it and give you feedback. Submit for feedback means I am going to take a look at it and provide feedback to you. I'm going to go ahead and hit submit for feedback on this one just because I want to show you something nifty about the program team meetings. All right, I've got challenges now. I'm going to go back to my dashboard. It's taking a little time. Now we can see that we're awaiting feedback on that Module 5 assignment. If I, as the trainer, approve Module 5, it will be approved not just for South Dakota Test User 2, but South Dakota Test User 1, because this is a program team assignment. So only one person actually needs to submit that one for the team, which is interesting. You can also see that South Dakota Test User 2 has some other assignments that they've turned in. They've done some alphabetics assessment work. That one's in draft. That hasn't been submitted yet. The fluency assessment assignment has been approved. That means that it was submitted for feedback. The trainer went in and looked at it. I went in and looked at it, approved it, and now it's done. Here on vocabulary assessment, module 8, you'll see a needs action. Needs action means that that participant has submitted an assignment for feedback. I've taken a look at it and I have questions, or I have a comment that I really want you to see before you move on. Needs action doesn't necessarily mean you did anything wrong. It just means I want you to go in and take a look at it again, maybe see what I've given you in feedback. There might be something that you need to adjust, but it just means I want you to take another look. And then you'll see when it says awaiting feedback, that's a cue actually for me. It tells you that you've completed that assignment and turned it in, and it tells me this assignment is waiting for me to take a look at it and provide feedback. Does anybody have any questions about those statuses that you'll see on your dashboard?
Becky, how long can we wait for feedback? I mean, when should we expect feedback?
I am in the system every single day. So I would say within 24 hours, you should have some kind of feedback, unless there's something going on. And I'll try and let you know if there's a reason that maybe I won't be in the system for a while. I can give you one example. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing the AEIDP training. So, for example, that training goes all day on Thursday. I probably won't be in looking at assignments on Thursday, the 14th of March. So you might have to wait until Friday the 15th to get feedback from me. But I'm going to do my absolute best to give you feedback as soon as I possibly can. I don't want you to get held up waiting for me. One other thing to notice is that South Dakota Test User 2 was able to go through several modules at once, even though, like, this one's still in draft. Module 6 is still in draft. Module 8 needs action. There aren't a whole lot of stopping points within the system. You can actually see where the first one is right now, because you can see up through Module 9, all of those modules are blue. They're active links. That means that you have access to any one of those modules. Module 10 is grayed out. That's because Module 9 is one of the first kind of stop points that's built into the system. The reason for that is because when you hit Module 9, you've then gone through all of the diagnostic assessment modules for the 4 components. We want to make sure that you've got a really good grasp of how those individual assessments work before we move on and conduct more diagnostic assessments. So we put in a stopping point there. You have to be approved on Module 9 before Modules 10, 11, 12, 12A open up to you. But yeah, I'm going to make sure that I'm in and looking at your work at least a few times a day. The other thing I will mention is Module 13 down here is an extra practice module. That is open to you now. The extra practice modules are always open, and they're exactly what they say they are. They're extra practice. So I'm going to click on this one. And if you watch this module for extra practice, clearly I was in it before once as test user 2. You can see you've got additional practice scoring assessments, identifying instructional priorities and grouping students. You can watch a video of diagnostic assessment, and then there's additional resources. So you can go through that one at any time if you're looking for a little bit of additional practice on any of the things in section 1. I'm going to click on dashboard and go back to my landing page. I want to show you something very important about accessing your work once you've actually started working in a module. You can see South Dakota Test User 2 has actually submitted something for all of these modules now, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Module 6 is in draft. If South Dakota Test User 2 wants to go back in and work on that assignment, this is where you would click on it. You want to click on draft, not on module 6. Okay, I want to show you the difference. If I click here on draft, it's going to open up and show me what I've done so far in module 6. I've typed some things into my reflections. I've got some student assessments entered in my table. I have the ability to add a new student if I want to. So if I'm assessing a new student and I want to add those assessment results in, I can. I've completed some reflections. I just haven't gotten through it to the point where I feel like I'm ready to submit yet. Okay, so I can see my work. That's if I clicked on that draft link underneath my name. I'm going to go back to dashboard and show you what happens if I click over here on module 6. Here it acts like I haven't done anything yet. It takes me back to the beginning. And if I go down at the bottom, I see it actually shows me, hey, you've already done this. You've turned this, or you've worked on this. I could resubmit. I could click on this button and create a whole nother assignment, but I'd have to start over and redo all my work because I'm creating a whole second assignment. So if you've already started working in a module and typed anything into any of the forms and saved as a draft, or if you've submitted something and I've told you I want you to look back at it, you have a needs action, don't click on the left-hand side on the module name. Click on the link underneath your name. That takes you back into your own work. Any questions about that? It's an easy thing to do to create a duplicate assignment. Here I clicked on the vocabulary where it says needs action. You can see here again, the student put some reflections in. They're not great reflections. So my feedback, and I promise that my feedback will be better than this too. This is my test feedback. You need to take another look at the module and then review this assignment. So I'm telling you, hey, you were a little off here. Take another look. I'll be more specific in my feedback to you in the future. But you can see now you as the user have the ability to comment back to me, or you can make changes, and then again, you can save as a draft and submit for feedback. Jill just asked, if you're working as a group, would you click on your team members link? Let me show you that. And Mary asked, does it matter if a team member initially enters the information for a group and then another individual goes in to edit it? Yeah, it actually does. For that module 5, you'll probably want to talk about, if you're submitting as a group for the program teams, you'll want to talk about who's submitting that assignment and who will go in and edit it. You all can submit your own thoughts as individual assignments too, and I'll be able to see those and comment on them. But yeah, you'll want to be able to see what each other is saying. Let me log out of South Dakota Test User 2 for a minute and log in as South Dakota Test User 1 to kind of show you how that works. Oops. You guys are asking really great questions. That makes me happy. Okay, now you can see I'm in a South Dakota Test User 1. All of these things are bold, and I actually can go in and look at Test User 2's stuff by clicking on his links, but I won't be able to edit anything. So on 5 challenges, I can click here where South Dakota Test User 2 submitted our group challenges document. I can click here, but you can see up at the top, I don't have a way to edit. However, I can add a comment. So if I have something else to say about those challenges, what I can do as a team member is add in my own comment. Grammarly doesn't like something that I just did, but I don't care. So I can add a comment, and then all of that is visible when I, as the trainer, go into review, plus all of your team members can see that too. So we can see South Dakota Test User 2 was the one who typed in the initial challenges, but South Dakota Test User 1 had something else to say about it. Does that answer the questions that you were asking me, Mary and Jill? Mary says yes, great. Jill says for now, LOL. I get that. Training creates question upon question upon question, right? Okay. I'm going to go back to my dashboard. And you can see I, as test user 1, haven't completed any of these things, but I still have access to all of the first 9 modules. So again, you can work as quickly as you want to through modules 3 through 9 in the next few weeks. And like I told Steph, I will do my best to keep up with you and continue to give you feedback in a timely manner on everything that you're submitting. When you are in, that's the other thing I wanted to show you. I need to log out and log back in. Oops. Sorry guys, switching between the test users is kind of a necessary evil sometimes. When you are in an assignment that you've already completed, I'm going to click on this one that says needs action again because it might need some tweaking, right? You have an edit button up here at the top. That lets you edit any of your reflections that you've already done. So if I've told you, go back in and take another look at this, when you log back in, you're going to want to hit the edit button up at the top of the screen for your assignment. And that opens up all of your information for editing again. And then you can see you have the same options: save as draft, submit for feedback, view changes. You can actually delete your whole assignment. I do not recommend doing that. Just make changes and edit as you need to. And I would think save as draft and submit for feedback are the ones you're going to use the most. View changes is helpful if you just want to see how it's going to look once you actually do save it and submit it. But you do want to hit that edit. And if you hit edit and you realize you don't need to or you're not ready to edit yet, you can always come up and hit cancel. Any questions on any of that? I'm going to click on the discussion forum tab now at the top of the page. This is where you'll find the discussions that some of you have already started participating in. Thank you for that, for introducing yourselves. We have a very interesting group of adult educators in South Dakota. It's always interesting to me when we do an activity like this. I've known some of you for a lot of years, and I still learn some things about you when you post it in the welcome. Oh, Jill, yes, when working as a group, can you all view the assignments from different computers? Absolutely. Whenever you're logged in, you'll be able to see your own program group's work, no matter if you're working on the same computer or different computers. Good question. At the same time, to the extent you're not going to be able to see somebody working live, you're not going to be able to see a change somebody makes until they hit submit. But so it's not the same as like working on a shared Google Doc in that respect. You're not going to be able to see somebody typing live and making changes actively in the system at the same time as you. But you're going to, as soon as they hit submit, you're going to be able to see their changes appear in the system. Very good. Thanks, Jill. Good question. So in the discussion forums, I'm going to be putting discussions in for every module that you do. In fact, as soon as we're done with this webinar, I'm going to go in and I'm going to enter in the Module 3 and Module 4 discussion threads. I always think it's a really great place to start when you're entering a new module. So if you're starting a new module, I would come to the discussion forums, take a look at the information that's there, and then go into the module. Because a lot of times in my initial discussion forum post, I'll give you some tips about the module. You also have the ability to add posts in the discussion forum. So you can see if you hover over that button that says add a discussion, you have the ability to post to South Dakota 2018. That's the entire state group. Or you can post to your own practice team. And again, I'm logged in the South Dakota practice team, so I can post just to my team members, and they're the only ones who will be able to see this post along with me, the trainer. Okay. So post to South Dakota, everybody in the state sees it. Post to your practice team, just your group and the trainer see it. Okay. And posting is really, really simple. If I want to do a post to the South Dakota practice team, I just hit post. It's going to think for a second. And then you see it says South Dakota practice team. That's important because that's your last way to check before you post this. If you're only wanting to post to your own team and not the whole state, if it says South Dakota 2018 up there, you're in the whole state. Go back and start over. When you create a discussion post, you just give it a title. Whoops. Apparently I've done a lot of them. This might be a place where you could discuss with your program team, what are our challenges? So that might be the header for your discussion post. You would type some stuff in the body, and then you would hit save. You also have the ability to attach a file in there if you want to. So I'll hit save. And then when we go back to the discussion forum, you'll see there's another one, and it tells you it's just in the South Dakota practice team, not South Dakota 2018. You all have done a great job, as I said, in going into the welcome post and introducing yourselves. So you've all figured out that you've got the ability to comment and reply, right? I can reply to any one of your individual threads there. So the discussion forum, I think, is pretty intuitive and pretty straightforward. If you have any questions about that, though, really don't hesitate to ask. I just got confirmation from our lead tech person that they took the calendar feature down, which is why I haven't been able to post any of our dates on it. There were some bugs in the calendar feature that they're trying to fix, and they decided they couldn't do it while it was up live. So there won't be anything posted for you in calendar. If there are announcements that need to go out, you'll see them either on the South Dakota All webpage that Kim showed you earlier, or in the discussion forum. I'll post any updates as far as dates or anything like that that we need to be aware of. Okay. Thank you, Megan. The next tab is resources. This is an important one because it's the place where you will find every single resource that's listed in every single module in the training. They're divided up into sections. So the first part is the evidence base. You've got some resources for diagnostic assessment, vocabulary instruction. It goes on and on and on. So if you're looking for a resource, you can't remember what module it was in specifically, but you want to find it, the resources tab is the place to come. And then the last tab across the top, help, is also an important one. The help tab is for those questions that deal with the technology of the site. Okay, so for content questions, you can contact me directly, either through the discussion forum or through email. For any other questions about, I'm not understanding why when I entered this on the site, it looks different. Those kinds of things go to the help desk. And again, you can use this help desk email, projectstar@manhattanstrategy.com, or there is a technical issue report form that you can use that goes directly to the website developers. If you click there, you can see it gives you some options for how to report a technical problem. It'll automatically enter your name and email. You tell them what state you're in, what team you're on, what kind of computer you're using, which browser you're using. I can tell you that Chrome and Firefox have been less buggy with this system than Internet Explorer has. So if you've got the option to use one of those two, you'll probably have an easier time. They want to know the web address of the page where the error occurred, what you were trying to do, and again, be detailed. And if you received an error message, what error message did you get? You can actually do a screenshot and upload it so that they can see what your screen looked like when you were having the problem. You can enter the date and time and then hit submit. Our tech team logs all of those and reacts to them as quickly as they possibly can. Some problems take a little longer than others to resolve, but they'll be in direct contact with you about what you can do in the meantime while they're working on that problem. I'm going to click back on that help tab and show you one other thing, which is one of the best parts of any website, the frequently asked questions and troubleshooting. So if you look for help, before you do the email to the help desk, before you do the technical issue report form, I would definitely read through these frequently asked questions. These have been culled from all of the most numerous help requests that we've had so far in using this training site. So these are all issues that people have had in the past, so they're common issues, and they are help in solving them or avoiding them overall. So if you have a question, I would come to frequently asked questions first and scroll through these and take a look. I'd actually read through them anyway, even before you have a question, because they'll help you to avoid some pitfalls. And then if you don't see your particular problem here, by all means, go ahead and fill out that technical report form. I'm going to click back on my dashboard, and I'm going to ask if anybody has any questions about kind of the general operation of the website. Because if not, I'm going to use my last 10 minutes to get a little specific. Your picture is sideways. We had somebody else who had that problem, Gloria. And I'm trying to remember what we did to help them solve it. I can't give you that answer now, but I will give you that answer. Yeah, Kim says I thought she was resting. It might be a cropping issue, or maybe just a rotation issue. Yeah, let me think about that, and I will get back to you as soon as I remember the answer. Yeah, there was one guy, we showed up to our first face-to-face training, and we told him we couldn't recognize him standing up. He'd have to lay down for the face-to-face training because his picture had been sideways the whole time. We did get his fixed, though, so I know we can fix it. All right, I want to show you some tips and tricks about diagnostic assessment. We've done some things to really help streamline it, I think, since maybe the first time that some of you went through this training, which might have been many, many years ago. I'm going to flip my webcam on. Good morning. You can tell it's been a long week. I look tired. The state has purchased for all of you a copy of the Bader Reading and Language Inventory. This is the 7th edition of this assessment material. There are some improvements over the previous editions, so some of you might have, I think I have everything from 4th edition on up somewhere in my possession, whether it's here in my office or at home. But you will all be getting a copy of this book. You all have a copy of this book for your program, and you'll be getting it at our first face-to-face training. I'm telling you this because the fact that you all have a copy of this book for your program makes the fact that I emailed you those assessment material documents legal, because those are just pieces pulled from the Bader language inventory. And yep, it's one per program. Thanks, Kim, for that reminder. Those are all assessment pieces pulled from the Bader, and because you all have a copy of the Bader and the Bader includes Blackline Masters, we're not sharing anything illegal or violating copyright in giving you those Word docs that I emailed out, I believe, on Wednesday. What I want to show you next is this is my assessment kit. So it's just a plain accordion folder. You can buy them at Walmart. You can order them on Amazon. You can find them at any office supply store. And what I've done with those assessment materials that I sent you is organize them in a way that makes them easy to use when you're sitting with a student. So this first folder in here is actually that student diagnostic reading assessment record. I'm going to pull it up here. So this form is the form that I, as the assessor, use to write on while I'm doing diagnostic assessment with a student. The front page is a cover page, okay? That's where you're actually going to write the initial student information up at the top, and then as you complete each assessment, you're going to list the results on that chart, and you're going to make any notes that you have about that student. Then starting on page 2, you can see it says alphabetics assessment. Start with the list at the student's TABE CASAS reading level. Continue until you find the highest list where the student has at least 9 words correct, which is the highest level successful for alphabetics. So as soon as they miss 2 words, you're done on this assessment. This is the sheet where you'll write and mark whatever errors your students make, okay? In my folder, whoops, sorry, hit my button. In my folder, I have in a green folder on green cardstock, so I know what I'm doing at all times and I get everything back in the right place. I have each of those graded word lists printed out singly. So this is list number 2. This is list number 3. I know that because I know it's hard to see on the green, but there's a number 3 written in pencil on the back of the card. So this helps me keep myself organized and know what things go where, which assessment is what pieces I need. These cards all came from that second document that I sent you that I told you not to print because it's a lot of pages and I was going to give you instructions for how to use it. So this is the student material. So I'm going to give the student this card to read from. I'm going to take that diagnostic assessment record and mark as they're doing their assessment. This will all make more sense once you go through the diagnostic assessment modules, but I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of how the assessment kit works and can be set up, so it will really help to streamline the assessment process for you. It's one of the things that we found that really works pretty well. The other nice thing about that student assessment record, this one, is that all of the directions for how to conduct the assessment are printed at the tops of the pages for each of the assessments. So you've got kind of a little cheat sheet there to help you as you get started on your modules. And I wanted to point that out because one of the things that we're going to look at next is how to go in and add those assessments. So I'm logged in as South Dakota Test User 1 right now. I'm going to click on alphabetics assessment. Stop sharing my webcam so I don't pull so much bandwidth. I haven't done this assignment yet. So when I come in, I would watch the module. And then down here it tells me, review the alphabetics assessments you're using, get word lists for word identification and phonics tests. You've got those because we've sent you the document and you're getting a Bader. You want a copy for your students and one for you to record on. And then it says, update your diagnostic assessment Cliff Notes. This is just a little shortcut for you to help remember what you're doing on each assessment. So if I open this up, it's really to help me keep assessment notes. And if I click on alphabetics, the name of the assessment is going to be the Bader. The level where you begin testing is at the TABE level, and I know this because it tells me all this on page 2 of my student diagnostic assessment record. Success means having at least this many words correct, 9. And the phonics assessment that we're using is not Becky Lemke. It is a woman's name, though, Sylvia Green, which is also in that list of assessment materials that I sent to you. And then you can make any additional notes that you want to about alphabetics assessment and click Save. So you've got that that tool to use in your diagnostic assessment kit that I sent to you that you'll be able to use to help you complete that assignment. Down here you can see, because South Dakota Test User 2 has completed this assignment, I can click on his assignment and go see what he did even before I do my own assignment. So if you want to get some help from your coworkers and make sure you know what you're doing, you can go in here. And this is also where I can go in as South Dakota Test User 1 and make comments on what my colleague has done, has talked about in their reflections, any of those kinds of things. Okay. Questions about that? I know our hour is up, but I want to show you one more thing. Yes, Renee, I will send you that email. I want to show you one more thing. I'm going to click on record assessments because this can get a little bit tricky, and I want to make sure that everybody has a kind of a good understanding of how you do this. You're going to watch the module, and then it tells you to assess some real students, okay, using this alphabetics assessment, and record their results. So when I come in to record those results, I'm going to click Add New Student, and it's going to ask me once again just to make sure, yep, I want to add a new student. So I'm going to add a new student. His name is Bob. He came to us, he's really low. His TABE reading level was only a 4.2. And at this point, I can hit submit and Bob will be saved, right? So if you want to go in and just start entering your students and their TABE levels to get started, you can do that. Oh, where did Bob go? I might have just found a new glitch in the system. Okay, Bob, 4.2. I can also click on alphabetics and enter information about his alphabetics assessment. So I'm going to start testing Bob at a level 3 in alphabetics because that's a level below his TABE score, and I want to make sure I give him a chance to be successful at first. On grade 3, he did great. He got 10 words correct. On grade 4, he did okay. He got 9 words correct. On grade 5, he only got 7 words correct. So I know that that's where I'm stopping. And again, you'll know all this because you've gone through the module and done the work, right? So I'm going to say, I know Bob needs to work on some fluency, or on some alphabetics, but I need to wait until after his fluency assessment, and I'm going to hit submit. Now Bob should show up as a student. No, he still doesn't. Now Bob showed up twice. All right, this helps us because Bob showed up twice, so I know I did something wrong. I can delete one Bob, right? So delete. Gloria, that is an excellent question. Is the expectation that all our intermediate level students are entered into STAR? Absolutely not, especially not right now. Now what we want you to do is pick a small group. We're thinking in very small pilot level terms. So when you first start out in section 1 and you're just assessing students, we're going to say assess a couple of students. Okay, and that literally just means pick a couple of students and practice assessments with them. When we get into instruction, we're going to say take some of those students that you assessed and try out the instructional techniques with them. So again, it's a small group. And honestly, the expectation is never going to be that you have to do this with every intermediate level learner. The expectation is that hopefully you will find a way to implement so that you're able to provide evidence-based reading instruction to those intermediate level readers who need it. And how you identify that in your program is completely up to you. But no, the expectation is not that you're going to go out and assess every single intermediate level reader in your program at this time. You are most welcome. Thank you for the question because it's a really good question. So now you can see I've got Bob's assessments added. I can actually edit Bob as a student. I can go in and edit him. And you can see not only can I edit his alphabetics assessment, but this is also where I go to add in his fluency scores once he does his fluency assessment. So that's how the student assessments are entered into the system. But then once they're in, they become part of your student record, and you actually can enter and edit people there. Nikita asked about grade equivalents for 11 and 12. That's actually one of the resources in the resource list. There's a grade equivalent chart for TABE 11-12 because they no longer give us a grade equivalent on the score report. Good question. I think I have gone through everything that I wanted to address with you all today. The one other thing I wanted to tell you is that if you have questions, if you have problems, if you have concerns, you can always contact me. My Cornerstone's email and my Cornerstone's phone number are the best way to get a hold of me. Those are the ones that I'm always answering when I am at work. So those are the ones that I would recommend that you use. How many different colored files do I have in my accordion folder? That's a good question too. I didn't show you all of them. I actually have 5 different colors, one of each. So yeah. And if anybody wants more information on that, I can send out pictures and stuff too if you want them. Any other questions that I can address for anybody? As you get started, my biggest piece of information is to don't panic. All right. This is a marathon, not a sprint. We're going to do this piece by piece, step by step, and we're all in it together, and it's going to be okay. So if you have any worries or concerns about anything, if you have syllabus questions, the syllabus, there are dates on there, but there's some play in there as far as how you accomplish getting some of the assignments done. One of our participants had already asked me because they've got some things going on in their office with carpets and furniture, and everything's going to be torn apart, so they're not going to have access to students for the last couple of weeks in March. And I said, so you're going to want to alter the way you think about how you get those assignments done, and that's perfectly okay. So if you've got issues like that, just make me aware of them, and I'll visit with you on an as-needed basis to talk about maybe the best way to structure your time in getting some of the assignments done. All right. Gloria asked to please send pictures of my folder and files. I will most definitely do that. I'm happy to share those. Anybody else who has any other questions or would like any additional resources, please just let me know. And if not, I will let you go and get on with your Friday. Oh, when I say, yeah, no, Judy, that's not the instruction book. That's the assessment book. And you're going to get, Rapid will get 1 book, but you all have the ability to make those copies of the assessment materials from the documents that I sent out to you. So you hold 1 book for copyright purposes for the Rapid City program, but then you're able to make the copies for everybody out at all the individual sites. All right, if nobody has any additional questions, I will let you all go. If you do have additional questions once we're offline, by all means, reach out and ask. I'm in the office today, and I'll be answering emails. And if you're really ambitious and you start submitting assignments, I'll take a look at them. You all have a great rest of your Friday. I hope it stops snowing soon, and enjoy your weekends. Thank you all so much.
You too, Becky.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Becky.